And this Penn Point will start right now. Let me throw this to Penn, and he'll tell you what this episode, or who this episode, is brought by. Tell him, Penn. This Penn Point is brought to you by GoDaddy. Yeah, okay. What I want to talk about now is this really nutty thing that happened. My daughter, her middle name is Crimefighter. Crimefighter, one word with usually a hump cap in the middle. I like to put a cap on fighter in there. And I've already done a lot about why she's called Crimefighter and where the name comes from. And it's mostly, in a nutshell, because it was my wife's idea, because my wife thinks that middle names don't mean jack shit. So her name is Moxie Jillette, and then if you look a little more carefully, her middle name is Crimefighter. Fine. And I was talking to Gail Zappa. Gail Zappa, Frank's widow, gave me a call. And it's really nice to have somebody on the phone that you know is not going to give you shit about your daughter's weird name. It's just weird, that, wonderful to know that in her head, she's totally okay with what I say. Also, I can't tell you what an honor it was to talk to Gail Zappa. I mean, I was just, I couldn't believe I had her on the phone. I mean, I met Frank. And when I met Frank for dinner, I almost passed out. He was such a hero of mine. And I met Dweezil, and I've talked on the phone to Gail, though I've not met her in person. And I'm just the whole family fills me with awe. So our daughter's middle name is Crimefighter. So last night at the show, this guy comes up to me, just a regular guy. Nothing goofy about him at all. Regular guy. And he says to me, is your daughter's middle name Crimefighter? And I said, yes, it is. And usually that's followed by, oh, what a cool name, or I like that. Or it's followed by, ooh, why'd you do that? Haven't you ruined her life? One of those two things. But he says to me, that's my name. And I said, what? And he said, that's my last name. My last name is Crimefighter. And he holds up his driver's license, which I know, I'm Penn Jillette. I know it could be faked, but I don't happen to think it was. It was real driver's license, and his first name is something. Then his last name is Crimefighter, Crimefighter. And he says, why did you name your daughter that? Now, listen. Why'd you name your daughter that is a stupid-ass motherfucking question when asked by anybody who doesn't have the name Crimefighter. At which point, it's a very reasonable question, and one that I was very happy to answer. So I told him a little bit about it, and he heard that, and he goes, well, where'd you get the idea for Crimefighter? And I said, well, in my novel, I say, my novel Sock, I say, one of the characters says, from now on, call me Crimefighter. And Mike Jonesy, our piano player, thought that was cool and said, you should just name, one of your children Crimefighter. He was also the one that had the idea of naming our son Curly Howard Gillette, which how cool would that be? Curly Howard Gillette. Because if you didn't want to use the name Curly, you could just go with Howard. C. Howard Gillette would sound great. And if you thought it was cool to be named after one of the greatest comedy geniuses of all time, Curly Howard, you just call yourself Curly. How cool would that be? Whether he's bald, whether he has long hair, it would have been very cool to name him Curly Howard. But we did. We named him Zoltan, which is my wife's original last name, kind of in respect to her family, and also because Zoltan in Hungarian means king, so I can say that we named our son after Elvis, Zoltan. Get it? Okay. His name was Crimefighter, and I'm going to explain why his name was Crimefighter right after we slug in whoever's paying for this right now. And let me tell you about GoDaddy. Web hosting from GoDaddy.com includes 99.9% uptime, 24/7 support, and free access to Hosting Connection, the place to install over 30 free applications, sure to help you get the most from your hosting plan and website. It seems like you should host on GoDaddy because they've also got the coolest name. And check out revision3.com. GoDaddy for a list of all the amazing GoDaddy deals from Revision 3. And there's a lot of cool deals, and you got to host your website somewhere. It might as well be on GoDaddy because they support Penn Point, right? Also, use the code PEN8 when you check out to get 10% off any order. PEN8. See that? PEN8. PEN8. PEN8 at GoDaddy. Okay, his name was Crimefighter. His real name, so he says, his surname was Crimefighter, and it was Crimefighter because his grandfather was Norwegian, and when he came to this country, I don't know if this is an Ellis Island story, but when he came to this country, the person in charge of immigration, and then he said what his grandfather's surname was. Crimefighter. That was my impersonation of Norwegian. Norwegian. Now, I don't have any idea what Norwegian people sound like. No idea at all. I know one person from Finland who's the one that fucked us on Cash Cab. I know a couple of Danes, as I mentioned before. But in the Nordic countries, and I don't say Scandinavian, I say Nordic now because the person that fucked me on Cash Cab has taught me to say Nordic instead of Scandinavian. So I don't think I know any Norwegians. I don't think I know one Norwegian. As a matter of fact, I think the entire knowledge I have of Norway is Norwegian wood. Okay, but anyway, so he says, and don't trust, Crimefighter. Do they even roll their R's? What do I know? Could somebody please send a message back, like a video message, of what the Norwegian name that would have turned into Crimefighter would have been? Because I would love to hear someone who is Norwegian say a name. Are there sounds in Norwegian that sound like Crimefighter? A Crimefighter? But anyway, this cool guy heard this Norwegian person, and with lack of respect, I suppose, for the real Norwegian name and the real roots and stuff, but still it's pretty cool. The guy comes in from Norway, he's moving to this wonderful country of ours, and the guy writes down, Crimefighter is his last name, and now his grandson comes to our show and is rather perplexed why my daughter's middle name is Crimefighter. But from now on, I'm able to say, well, it's a bastard. Well, see, what this guy thought was that maybe it was a family name and maybe we were related. So instead of Crimefighter being just a goofy-ass name put in place by a couple of idiots naming their daughter, it could instead be some really respectful, to show respect for my Norwegian roots, which I don't have. I can't even do a Norwegian accent. Of course, I do have Newfoundland roots, and I can't do a Newfoundland accent. Where am I to? That's as close as I can come. Where am I to? When we were up in Newfoundland, that's Newfoundland, understand. It rhymes with understand. Say it right, Newfoundland. When I was up in Newfoundland, a lot of people would say, where am I to? When they were confused. And of course, I'm confused all the time, but I don't say, where am I to? Crimefighter, 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 Crimefighter. That's it.